Hello, I'm David Martin. I work with the Jason Foundation. The Jason Foundation is a national leader in youth suicide prevention. We provide resources for coaches or educators, for parents, and for students to help identify and assist at-risk youth. We're here today to explore another topic that deals with mental health, and that's injuries in athletes. And I think this is something that will be very beneficial to coaches. We have with us today Joe Franks, who is the Executive Director of the National Organization for Coaches Association Directors, and also a board member of the Jason Foundation. We thank you for doing this. Appreciate you being here. Welcome, Joe.
Coach, thank you so much. It's a privilege to be with you today to talk about this important topic.
Well, it is an important topic, and please share a little bit about your background working with student athletes.
Well, when I look at my background in terms of athletics, I was an athletic trainer at a major Division I university as an undergrad. I went back to teach at my old high school and directed a sports medicine program as a certified athletic trainer, NATA certified athletic trainer in North Carolina, and later a licensed athletic trainer for 17 years before I got into coaching. And I've worked with the North Carolina Coaches Association since 1987, helping put on all-star games and coaching clinics. And then I was able to become involved with NOCAD and have been the executive director of NOCAD since 2022. So I've got a little bit of background in athletic training and coaching and in athletic administration.
Well, your experience will lend a lot of wisdom to what we're going to talk about today. So let's jump into our first question here. How do injuries to an athlete, be it long-term or season-ending, affect their mental health, maybe even their identity?
Coach, I'll tell you what, particularly when you've got high school students that have high expectations, that have worked very, very hard, and then when they have an injury, they're devastated. There's no doubt about that. And what you got to have is a tremendous support group. You got to have your coaches, you got to have your people at school that are helping these young people deal with, to them, what is a tremendous tragedy because they've seen their dreams kind of go up in smoke. And I think over 30 years of teaching and then being involved in athletics, even longer than that, one of the things that I have seen over the years is the what I would consider the lack of coping skills that young people have these days compared to a generation or two ago. Everything, they put their eggs in one basket, and when that one basket kind of falls apart, they are absolutely devastated. So we've got to do a really good job of supporting them and showing them options. I think that's critical.
Thank you. All athletes react so differently and handle the emotional stress of an injury. And you use the word there, cope. I think that's an important word. How do you think athletes today cope with long-term injury?
Well, I think, athletes are uniquely positioned because really they have to learn to deal with adversity. Things aren't always going to go their way in a game, in practice, and they start to learn that in life. But until they have gained so much more experience, it becomes difficult for them sometimes to deal with these things. And again, it's incumbent on us as adults, as coaches, as administrators, as counselors and teachers to be able to give them that kind of support and show them options on ways to cope with things in their life, the adversity that they're going to face.
Great answer. Thank you. What are some symptoms of depression from an injury would a coach who has had that situation look for in an athlete?
Coach, I think for the years that I was involved, not only as an athletic trainer, but a coach, when you've got a kid, a young person that has had a season-ending injury or sometimes a career-ending injury, they tend to withdraw. They're going to withdraw from the interaction with their coaches, with their teammates, with their friends, because they get into a depressed mood. And so when we begin to see, we've got to have engagement with these young people. We've got to show them that they do have some options. Of course, they're going to deal with the injury. They're going to deal with the rehab. But how do we respond to giving them, again, some type of long-term goal that they can look to achieve? I think that's very important.
In today's world, we talk a lot about head injuries, and that's a big topic of discussion for athletes. Are athletes with head injuries at a greater risk of depression than athletes with, let's just say, a lower body injury?
Right now, you've got many studies going on, very famous studies with the NFL. You've also got studies with the NCAA. You've got studies with the NATA. And what I can tell you from experience is that when a young person does have some type of concussion injury, that there's a chance that they're going to be confused. They're going to have some headache, don't feel right. They just don't feel themselves. And so that to me has led to a need for great support, for care, for tenderness, to deal with these young people while they're coming back from this. And the other thing that I've noticed is, when an athlete is responding, they go through these testing protocols and that type of thing. When they start to feel better, you really see an improvement in their mental state and their attitude.
Right. We talked about ways that an athlete or coach can help overcome depression or mental health challenges following an injury. What can an athlete themselves do to help prevent going into a depressive state or having some mental health issues because of an injury?
I think one of the things that I would say, a lot of it comes down to that sense of community, that support that you get from coaches, teammates, teachers, people, counselors in school, friends, that type of supportive environment, but also the young person that is willing to open up to their mentors, to their friends, to their coaches. That's absolutely huge. When you've got this a good ability to communicate in a caring and nurturing relationship, and I'm gonna tell you what, that happens at any age, but particularly with young people, that is absolutely huge, because they've had something, again, that is so important to them that's been taken away. And it could be taken away for a short period of time. It could be a life-changing event, okay? But the biggest thing that I think is that level of support that makes people comfortable, makes that young person comfortable to be able to work with and work through their difficulties.
Excellent. Following a head injury, is an athlete more susceptible to depression and let that lead to another physical injury?
Well, I think, again, these are ongoing about that. But particularly, let's say, if someone has had a head injury and they don't feel right, okay, they don't feel themselves, then they may not be on top of their game with regard to going to practice, playing in a game. They might be a step slow. They might be hesitant. That possibly could open up a window where they could suffer some type of injury. Here again, that's why, over the years, we've seen varying protocols and testing to make sure that when young people return to participation, they are ready to return to participation. And that in itself is going to reduce the risk of injury, I believe.
Thank you. The CDC says that 1 out of 6 high school students consider attempting suicide each year. 1 out of 11 high school students attempt suicide 1 or more times each year. With that statistic, how have you seen the mental health treatment and psychological concerns in athletes today change over the course of your career?
Coach, I'm going to be honest with you. When I started teaching, students were very reluctant to talk about that they were going to see a mental health professional. What I saw over a 30-year teaching career is I had kids, that would come up and say, Coach, I got to leave, early today. I've got an appointment with my therapist. And they weren't embarrassed about that. We've taken the stigma of dealing with mental health issues. That's become more public. And you've gotten a lot of college athletes, professional athletes that have encouraged people to be open and honest. And there's an ad campaign, mental health is health, that kind of thing. But when you look at the Jason Foundation, for example, and I'm a believer in the Jason Foundation, and the resources that are provided, not only to individuals, but to teachers, counselors, coaches, it's absolutely amazing that, we can get people on board and get people to understand the signs and symptoms and what to look for. And then we can, be really proactive about trying to help these young people.
Every high school situation I know is different. And every one of them have different resources. But what are some of the resources in high schools that are available to coaches, to student athletes, to be able to get the mental health needs addressed that they might have?
Coach, I think you're right. There are many different schools that have different sets of resources available and that type of thing. That's why, an organization like the Jason Foundation and so many states across the country have the Jason Flatt Act that has been implemented in that state to give teachers, counselors, school personnel, to give them a background about what to look for and potentially, how to really get these students possibly the help that they need or get them in the right direction. Here again, the Jason Foundation information, the Jason Foundation resources are free. And one of the things that we do in North Carolina at our clinic, we hand out the little a friend asked informational card to every coach that comes to our coaching clinic. When I do regional meetings across the state of North Carolina during the fall, I have those available as well. And I mentioned, that we're connected through NOCAD. The North Carolina Coaches Association is connected through NOCAD to the Jason Foundation. So, it's all about getting those resources. And let's be honest here, all right? There are other organizations, that provide resources as well. However, our affiliation with the Jason Foundation makes me believe that JFI is the leader across the country in suicide prevention awareness.
Thank you. Mental health has become such a hot topic today, and I'm glad to hear you share how mental health is not as, I guess, a taboo subject like it once was. It's more open, and that's changing, and that's a positive. Helping these young people with their coping skills is absolutely critical to their growth, and I appreciate greatly your insight into what your experience has been with your background and everything. And as you said, the Jason Foundation provides these resources at no cost. Visit our website. There are resources that are available there. We have some postvention resources as well. So there's a lot there that can be utilized, and coaches are certainly welcome to get on and contact us or get on our website and learn more about the mental health resources that are available through the Jason Foundation. And thank you, Joe. I appreciate it very much for you being able to be here and share a few moments of your insight and wisdom. Thank you. It's very enlightening.
Yes, sir. Glad to be able to help. Anytime that I can help JFI, I'm certainly available to do it.